So, Biomax, welcome to the Crypto Stories series. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, Crypto Princess. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity.
No, that's amazing. Thank you for coming on. I've seen you around quite a few places, and I've also been onto your channel as well, and I really enjoyed the experience. Just before we start, can I ask Biomax, if I was to meet you in school, what kind of person were you in high school?
Ah, I know that you asked this question quite a bit, and that's wonderful. And I've been trying to think about how I'd answer it. It might really depend on when you met me. Because when I was a sophomore, so maybe halfway through my high school time, I was an exchange student to Australia. And I really came out of my shell. So prior to that, I was very athletic. I did just about any sport that there was that I could play and join, but I was also part of like the math club and very academic and whatnot, and maybe a little bit more shy. After going to Australia and being an exchange student, I really kind of found myself. I felt like I was welcome to just explore who I was and took that journey to have a lot more confidence when I came back home to the States after 7 months, and maybe was a little bit more outgoing, a little bit more social. And yeah, so it really might have depended on when you met me, but I was a little bit of a rascal, but always I tried to maintain a good heart to treat people well.
Biomax, I understand you spent some time in the military. Was that after school? How did you get in, and what did you do?
Sure. So my brother was in the Marines, and he told me, "Don't go into the Marines. Go into the Air Force. That's probably the best place to be." But I didn't join right after high school. I actually said I'd never join the military. And a year after leaving high school and after going to college for a year, I realized I had a lot of fun in college, but maybe didn't have the perseverance or the persistence to do the things that I needed to. And so I joined so that I could gain some great skills and some perseverance and accomplish things. So it was probably when I was 20 is when I joined the Air Force. It was December of '96, and I kind of surprised my family. I think if I had not needed a ride home, I probably wouldn't have called my parents before Christmas to have them come get me. But I asked them to come get me the week prior. They did, and then about 5 6 days after Christmas, I left on the 30th of December. So.
Awesome. And what did you do in the Air Force?
So I was a Chinese linguist in the Air Force. I can't recall exactly what I wanted to do when I first went to the recruiter, but after finding out I was colorblind during that process, they offered me something that would probably be best for everybody. You don't want to mix colors, red and green, especially if it's wires or anything else. But I was a Chinese linguist. I spent a good amount of time doing that and really enjoyed that.
Awesome. And how long did you spend in the military?
20 years in a day. I'd like to say I gave extra effort, gave that extra one day.
Awesome. So when you came out of the military, what year did you come out?
2016, so probably November, well, towards the end of 2016, yeah. So
Awesome, because I know you first started to look into crypto in 2016. And for those who are unaware, 2016 was exceptionally early. Bitcoin was about 7 years old. 2016 was its second halving year. So it had its second halving in 2016. And that set it up for a tremendous bull run in 2017. Can you tell me how you first discovered Bitcoin?
sure. So I was part of a leadership group that I had been involved with for 5 or 6 years, and they were really on the forefront on financial freedom. And they started mentioning that Bitcoin would be available through the plan that we had with them. Um, Unfortunately, I didn't take advantage of that. I didn't take advantage. I was retiring. I was getting ready for retirement. I had some medical issues that were going on, so I kind of put it in the back of my mind. And after transitioning out of the military and moving across the country, I, I forgot about it. But during that time, I did mention to my best friend of 40 plus years now, I mentioned Bitcoin to him. And at some point between then and when I actually jumped back into crypto, like in 2020, he jumped in. And in 2020, he actually reminded me or asked me, "How much Bitcoin do you have now?" I'm like, what? And then I recalled and started looking back into it. So
So you just said there that you had some health issues. Is that where your name came from, Biomax?
a little bit. It actually started from just when I was younger playing video games. I would have the name Biomex. I'm half Mexican, half Anglo, and so Bionic Mexican I thought was a really cool video game handle, and I shortened it to Biomex. But I actually do have some metal in my body from the time in the service. No time overseas, but yeah, so it kind of fits now, and I've changed it now to Tex-Mex Biomex just because some of the team that I'm involved with, they instead of the Biomex, which was my handle, they started calling me Tex-Mex Biomex. So it's taken a little bit of a change, but it's been fun.
Yes. We'll talk about your team and your community soon,
Sure.
because I love your team. I also love your community. So you got back into crypto round about, was it 2020? So everybody's aware that 2020 we had the pandemic, but for Bitcoin it was a very and for crypto in general it was a very difficult year. So in March 2020 we had a major correction. Most of the world was in lockdown. Bitcoin went from 9,000 something down to 3,000 something. It literally dropped within a couple of weeks. People thought it was the end of the world. Lockdowns everywhere. You got in 2020. Did you not think that this was some sort of phase?
I actually thought it was I mean, I thought I was a genius. Of course, sometimes when we first jump into it, and if you catch it in the right direction, you might think you're a genius. And I probably thought I was at the time. But no, I wasn't scared. I just saw it as part of the correction. And as I started to learn and listen and dig in really almost full time to try to understand the crypto market, probably took about 2 to 3 weeks before I actually made a move into it. But I started to think that and understand that it's just part of a cycle. And of course, the catastrophic events like the pandemic, which was global, or other things can have an effect on all financial markets. I did a lot of financial study and whatnot in my prior years, and understood, like, even in the housing crisis in 2008, I had a good opportunity then and took advantage of it, but I also understood that. So when I came into crypto, I just took it as another opportunity to jump into something when there's a big financial crisis because of a big, large global event. That's a great opportunity, whether crypto or other financial, uh, endeavors.
So you did mention before that the friend that you had back in 2016, who you introduced to crypto, reminded you in 2020 about crypto. How much support did you get from him or anyone else?
So he gave me a lot of support. I think um, I think now the crypto support is more widespread. It's And especially after this year with breaking the record 100,000 mark that Bitcoin has been striving for. I think that we hoped that it would in the last bull run, right? But there's a lot of support now. But even in 2020, there wasn't a wide amount of support. I don't think it was. I think if you were in crypto, you might be in a few chat rooms here or there, but you really didn't know many people personally. And so it was great to have my best friend and I both involved, and it helped. Each of us helped introduce the concept and help our wives be a little bit more comfortable with us jumping in, because we had that support. So that was very helpful. And he's more of a hodler. Like, he'll just buy and he holds on. And for him, it was a little harder to convince his wife that he should continue to be able to jump into it, where I kind of jump in and out of the markets and spot trade. And so that first year, I knew that it would be very important. Just knowing my wife and knowing our family, I knew it would be very important to take some profits and do something with it to show that it's not just funny money. So,
Funny money. I like that. I like that.
or what a friend of ours is called magic internet money. I love that phrase in itself too.
So what kind of investor or trader are you?
So I'd say I'm a spot trader. I kind of I'll put into the market. I make some pretty quick decisions when there's some new coins or things that have been coming up or talked about that launch. I'm not afraid to jump in a little bit and take action right away and see where it goes. But I did a little bit of a stint with trading, leverage trading and whatnot. It just wasn't my thing. I just didn't stay on top of it as much. And so I've had a lot of success when I first jumped into crypto. I had a lot of success with just buying when it was at a certain point, watching the cycle, watching the market, not trying to time the top, and selling when I thought it was at a good profit point, and then buying back when there was a dip and then selling again. And so I've done really well. That first year, I probably at least 10x my investment back in 2020. So 2020 was great for me. I really enjoyed it. I went with the move, and that really, like I said, helped convince my wife that, hey, this is a good thing for us.
Mm-hmm. So 2020 was also a halving year, and normally what we find is that after a halving year, we have the main parabolic bull run, and that's exactly what happened in 2021. So after the COVID lows, we came out, and then we just kind of went pretty much straight up, hitting over 60,000 in April
Mhm.
2021, and then we had the double top. So we had the China FUD in April, which caused a 50% correction, which continued sideways for some time before we actually hit the real top in November 2021. Were you aware of or when did you become aware that we were going to have a double top, and how did you position yourself in 2021?
Um, I continued to dig into and at the time, and we'll see how it plays out going forward. But I continued to dig into the 4 year cycle of Bitcoin, and not get too greedy or too ambitious about getting the next levels. I would often jump in and out of my trades. I sometimes will hold for long term periods, but usually I'll take a little bit of profit when it goes up, and I'll sell, and then I'll wait till there's a significant correction. Usually 10 to 20%. If there's a good 10 to 20% correction, I will jump in, unless it's really trending down. And especially when you follow the 4 year cycle, at least back then, if you know that it's going from 69 as it starts dropping, you don't want to continue to jump in every 20% as it goes lower. So I would just wait.
So that was 2021 was obviously your first parabolic bull year.
Mhm.
What was the experience like for you? Did you actually sell the top? Did you sell at the first peak, the second peak?
So I probably sold before the first peak, and then probably before the second peak. I didn't really sell at the top. I didn't necessarily always buy at the very bottom, but I made some good moves, and I actually did not buy Bitcoin as much. I had a little bit of Bitcoin, but I would usually trade Ethereum for the most part, as things went on. I didn't jump into a lot of the real meme coins or ones that were very speculative, but I did jump into Ethereum and then maybe some of the top 10 coins. I will say one of the first though, back in 2020, aside from Ethereum, one of the first that I actually did jump in was Shiba Inu, and took that for a little bit of a run and then got out, and I didn't jump back into it. I felt like there was a run coming. It timed itself well. When ApeCoin came out, I'm trying to
Oh,
remember when
yes.
ApeCoin came out, but when ApeCoin came out, I kind of was primed for that and ready. And when it launched, I was sitting in the living room with my best friend and at his house, and as it launched, and I said, I'm jumping in today, and I did, and then sure enough, as it spiked, I took profits probably maybe a little early, but then it had a big drop. So and he was sitting there on the sidelines watching me do it, and taking my profit, and he didn't jump in at all. But so I'll do some of those speculative kind of as things launch, and I know that there's going to be a run and then there's going to be a dump. So I'll kind of do that. It's a little bit more of a gamble, but for the most part, I try to stay on the top 5, top 10 cryptocurrencies.
That's very different to me because I'm a degen investor. So I like the adrenaline, and I like all the risk, but then again, I like the returns as well.
Sure.
So moving forward from 2021, we then went down into a bear market. 2022 was a very, very difficult year. We had multiple black swan events like FTX, Celsius, Luna, Voyager, all the rest of it. Were you aware of the difference between a bull market and a bear market?
I was a little familiar. I didn't really. I think in 2022 is really started jumping into NFTs. And not really trying to speculate on some of the really blue chip, what they called at the time, NFTs, but just jumping into NFT communities for the community aspect of it. If there's like-minded people that are trying to serve or get involved in a certain space. So there was some people that were a prepper group that was also an NFT community, and there was a group of YouTubers that were putting that out. And really, and some people think prepper and they cringe and they think it's someone who's building a bunker in their backyard and whatnot. But no, for myself, and there might have been a couple of those, and that's okay. I don't have anything against that. People have their own maybe anxiety or their own concerns, and they want to make sure they're prepared for whatever. For myself, especially after the pandemic, it was making sure that we had enough food and water, that we always had extra, that we weren't always waiting till the last, carton of whatever to go at the store. We always have a little bit extra now. And so and I have like those pre-made meals, almost like MREs from the military time, just in case there's something that happens, so that we can be prepared. So and
So
and that's when I jumped into that.
So for anyone who's unaware of what an NFT is, NFTs are literally a product of Web3. So Web3 will be built on blockchain technology, which is the technology behind cryptocurrencies. And an NFT is a bit of code on the blockchain which details the ownership of a particular item, a tokenization. Most people do associate NFTs with images, but they really truly can be anything. They can be deeds to a house. They can be, you know, ownership of a bottle of water. They can be anything like that. What type of NFTs did you get into, and how were you introduced to the NFT market?
Sure. So, I mean, I think I might have degened into some random NFTs to start with. Actually, what caused me to want to jump into crypto back in 2020, aside from my best friend, was Gary Vee was launching V Friends. And V Friends is one of the first, it's the first NFT he launched, but he was launching that. And if you owned a V Friend, he promised that you had access to his conference that he was going to start. And you had access for 3 years entry to that conference. And that's what made me jump into it. Now, I didn't realize at the time when I put money in Coinbase and the exchange that it would take me 7 days to be able to transfer that to a wallet and then do all that. And so I actually missed the mint of that. But that's what drove me to jump in. That's what actually drove me to actually take that first step. And so NFTs at the time, the ones with the prepper group, by buying an NFT for this project, you were securing part of it was securing a ticket to a conference or to a retreat where you'd go and learn skills. Some of the skills were like when you walk in nature, you can understand which plants are poisonous and which ones are not. And I think that's a useful skill. All the way down to making different items or whatnot. And then they were presenting on cryptocurrency as the ability to have freedom of finance and be your own bank and to transition. So I thought that was a great group to be part of. And I really like NFTs. I know that non-fungible token is not something that really is understandable. I when I talk to people about NFTs, even to this day, and now it's become more commonplace. But when I just talk to them about a digital asset and the fact that it can't be transferred, like you said, a deed to the house, nothing that can be transferred without your permission. And I know that they've been looking into medical records to turn those into an NFT, where maybe you have ownership of your own medical records and you're able to give people access to view it, like your doctors or your doctor team, and them to input information onto that. I just think it's a very, very transparent and very secure way to have ownership of an item. And of course, people made fun of, oh, well, I could take a picture and I could screenshot it and I can have it wherever I want, but they wouldn't have the asset itself. I actually have been developing in my local area a way to try to bring to market, especially small businesses, a way to have the opportunity, kind of like the Starbucks rewards, so to have a rewards program where you maybe allow you sell maybe 100, and then you maybe, like, let's say for a food truck, right? Maybe Wednesdays are their slow days, and if they sell these NFTs and they say if you come on Wednesdays you get 20% off if you have one of these NFTs. Well, first of all, that might bring more consumers on Wednesdays because they know they're getting a discount, they're going to come out, but it also might create community. If everybody goes on that same day, they start talking, they get to know each other, then that can help create community. And especially, I live in San Antonio, Texas. It's a very military town, a lot of people that leave and come back. Well, then you could sell that, you could sell that what's it called? You could sell that item, the NFT, and maybe it's built up more of a discount or more, maybe some perks because you've held it for a long time, but now you leave the area and you can't use it. You can sell that, and then another person can use it, and you get the benefit of selling it, and then the owner of the establishment gets a percentage of that sale. So I think it's a win-win. There's a lot of opportunities to use NFTs, and a lot more of those are being exposed now. So.
And it's going to be a big narrative because it's part of the RWA narratives. So
Mhm.
there's no getting away from NFTs. They're here to stay.
Yeah, real
Well,
world assets are big. I'm actually helping my best friend and one of his neighbors to see if they can take their farming and of animals and connect that to deep in on the blockchain to help them with their their products.
wow, that's amazing. Um, so in 2020, to November 2022, the market bottomed out at 15,000 US dollars, and then slowly we started the bull market again. This current bull market. You were into NFTs in 2022. You were obviously the market had turned. You were not making as much money as you were during 2021. How was your wife and your family taking your time and your obsession in cryptocurrency at the time? Were they still
Sure. I mean,
supportive?
they were supportive. In 2022, we actually moved houses. We bought a different house, and I had taken some of the profits from 21 and given her a budget of what we could spend at this to outfit the new house. So she was supportive, and I explained to her, especially having been in crypto for a couple of years, I explained to her the cycle and that whatever we put in, we were just going to have to wait a couple of years for that to produce and have effect. And so I didn't catch quite the bottom, but I was probably within 10-15% of the bottom, and just I what I try to do is I try to make sure I'm not putting 90% of my income into it, or even more than what's available to put in our investments, whether it is our 401k or other stocks or other things that we invest in. We try to make sure it's still that same percentage of portfolio that we do into investments. And now I'm actually more heavily towards crypto, but I still, it's not wise to do anything but what you can manage to put for long-term retirement or commitment into those types of vehicles.
Okay, awesome. In 2022, although you already had a community, you did start to get very active in the Givers Gain community. Can you tell me about that?
Sure. So, um, through much of the YouTube channels that I watched, and I watched them for the content and for the information and the news and the crypto updates. But I started watching them and getting involved. And several of the live YouTube channels have diverse and rich communities of people that sometimes just jump in there to talk to each other. And as I did that, myself and Crypto Billy, who's my friend and now co-founder in our Billy Goat Tales project that we started in 2023. Yes, 2023. But when we first met, we met in these chat rooms and we met in one of the NFT projects. But Giver's Gain came about. Frankie Candles was a fairly new YouTube streamer back then, talking about crypto. He definitely does trading and he's all about it, but he really teaches great principles. And the Giver's Gain phrase started in Frankie Candle's YouTube chat. Crypto Billy always had that mindset of, if you give, you're going to gain and whatnot. But he started putting Giver's Gain, Giver's Gain, and it really took off. That whole community was the birth of what we say givers gain. Now I know that it's out there in the public market, and there's some other businesses that use that motto, but really it wasn't it was birthed from Crypto Billy in the Frankie Candles YouTube chat. And it really kind of solidified a lot of us that had been in different NFT communities together to be part of that. Let's give back. Let's make sure, especially that people new to crypto, hopefully don't get rugged, or hopefully we can help educate them to take a step back and learn some processes, but also just helping each other, as a community, whether it's not necessarily financially, but maybe support or just being there for each other. And then that's when in 2023 I met Crypto Billy by going to Consensus in Austin. I think it was April of 2023. We met in person and went to the conference together, and it was a wonderful thing. So
awesome. Also Crypto Billy has also been on the channel, so do check out his story. But also in 2023 you launched a book. Tell me about that.
So yeah, in 2023, we had been talking for quite a while, especially when we met at the conference. We've been talking about doing something. We had been talking about helping maybe YouTubers and helping people that are up and comers, trying to get a leg in, trying to get that support, trying to have resources, maybe even being able to go on other people's other creators' shows. And so during that time, Crypto Billy reached out to some other friends in other communities. Our Sin City Crypto is a real big community that we were involved in. Redman, which is part of our team, as well as Jimmy Jim. We met in the Sin City Crypto space, and Frankie Candle space is where Crypto Pollo and Crypto Billy met. So through those different communities, we started to talk more, and Crypto Billy really brought in the rest of the team. And we decided, I think it was probably September of 2023, that we started having discussions and trying to figure out if we were going to turn this into a company, and we did. So Crypto Billy has the LLC. We're all kind of part of that, and we intend to create a nonprofit towards the end of the year, so that we can have that for Billy Goat Tales going forward. But the five of us decided that we wanted to fill a gap that wasn't being filled, and we felt that the giver's gain mindset and philosophy would be a great way to start. And so we thought we'd help with professional and personal development in the crypto space. Of course, we love crypto topics, and we're going to talk on that, but we wanted to find a niche that wasn't being filled in this space. And so we had our 10 cornerstones that we had developed. We're talking about persistence, taking action, community, love, wealth, and all of them are on our website, of course. But we wanted to take that, and so we decided we were going to host X Spaces, 2-hour-long X Spaces, once a week for 30 weeks, and turn that into a digital NFT book, a personal, professional development book, as well as a book that would introduce cryptocurrency. And so we launched, and I can get into that later. We launched not knowing that hosting 2-hour spaces, how much text and how much that would become. But we promised our community we would do 30 weeks. And so from November 23rd of 2023 till June 11th of 2024, we held an X Space every Tuesday night. We still continue to host Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we continue to do spaces. And we actually just launched a refresh of our top 10, like our first 10 cornerstones that we're starting. We started it this last Tuesday to talk on community, and then we'll continue to move forward and do a refresh, kind of like the 1-year update and where people have grown in that area. And it's been really well received. So,
and I think with the book you also did an NFT collection. Is that correct?
That's correct. So we said that we would make it into a book, and we wanted to make that into an NFT, partially because it will live on the blockchain, throughout history. It's already there. It's already out there. It can't be changed. We have ownership. It's verified ownership that we developed and created this product. We have all the links of all the X Spaces in the very back of it. So, but instead of just a traditional book where you own one and you can read the whole thing, that's where we kind of NFT'd it and put it into a community. So for every NFT someone owns, they own 3 chapters. And so we have 10 book covers, which represents our 10 cornerstones. And then the book's broken up into 3 chapter segments. And so people can buy one, and it's a draw of the hat, right? You don't know if you're going to get chapter 1 through 3 or if you're going to get chapter 6 through 9, but we encourage a lot of trading. If you get multiple, we're not there to try to take people's money or get them to go and resell on the secondary market, and of course they can, but we're really there to try to encourage people, our community. I don't think we had anybody get rugged or get schemed into giving one away and not getting one back, because really people just want to read the book, and there's over 170 speakers, 172 that were actually captured. And so we launched it right before Christmas, and I think it's a way that people were able to talk about their part of history, part of crypto history, and they can share it with friends and family. We developed a book reader platform so they can look at it on their desktop, they can look at it on their phone, and so people were able to share. And in the very back, every NFT, no matter if you got the first or the 10th or whatnot, has a preface that tells you like all about the experiment of what we did to do this, and it has listed all the chapters. And at the very end, there's an appendix that identifies every speaker from every chapter and every space. And then, like I said, the link to that space. So if they want to go listen to it and share with their friends and family, oh, see, this is where I talked about it here, and this is where I'm at in the book. We really sought to capture not just some of the big name guests that we had, but every person is valuable, and so we wanted to capture that.
Name
Sure.
drop.
So Charles Hoskinson was there week 8. We talked about
Wow.
emotional intelligence. I can't say that we secured him coming. It was Crypto Crow. Jason Appleton is a very, very well known a crypto YouTuber and influencer, has been for several years. Well, he was on, and he's good friends with Charles Hoskinson, and Charles just happened to jump in. And that really taught us. That space was really good. We enjoyed it. We went 4 hours almost, not 2. It got a little bit off topic after Charles came in. I mean, we stayed on topic for a while, and then it transitioned to other things, and people just wanted to ask Charles things. And so that taught us a lot about moderating those spaces and trying to keep things on track. And then if it got off the rails, we just went with it. And then if it wasn't on topic, we didn't put that in the book, but we still have that as a record. And it helped us to learn too of how to manage people that want to come on stage that maybe have other motives. And we were able to, I think through the 30 weeks, we maybe only had to boot out 3 to 5 people that were,
You got
just
trolls.
coming in to troll or shill or whatnot. But for the most part, people, once if they came in and they started talking off topic, we were able to say, hey, this is what we're talking about. This is a little bit different than most spaces where people just jump in and talk about whatever they want. And if they took the hint and came on board, great. And if not, then we just moved on. And there was no ill will towards anyone. So it was great.
So apart from Charles, who else was there?
So Gary Cardone came on with us. He's he has jumped into crypto in 2024. He was at the Bitcoin conference. I think he even paid to meet President Trump, who was there at the Bitcoin conference, or President-elect Trump, right? Who's now going to be the president again this year, who surprised people by attending the conference. And then a lot of really well-known crypto YouTubers. So with Crypto Lifer, Sam Price, Crypto Lifer, just a wonderful guy. I met him at that same consensus where I met Billy, and we just kind of really all kind of clicked and got along. We had David from Sin City Crypto. We had, as I mentioned, Jason Appleton. He has both Sam Price and Jason Appleton, Crypto Crow. They have their own interview chapters in our book. So we interviewed them and got to know about their backstory. Who else did we have? We had Chris Rice, who's his Rice TVX. We had Miss Teen Crypto, Randy Hipper. She is just a wonderful, great friend of ours. She actually read our children's book this past Christmas on a Christmas Eve stream. Who else?
Frankie Candles
We had
was on there.
Frankie Candles.
Was it Tom Crown?
Yeah, Tom Crown. We had Blockchain Crusader, Crypto Keeper, Jason.
Crypto Face, I think, was on there as well.
Crypto Face was on there. So just, I can't even fathom how many, how much support that we got from all these communities that we were actively part of. Crypto Blood. Um, yeah, I mean, just most of the people that we watched, and I'll just say most of the people that we watched on Around the Blockchain, many of them came on with us, and we continued to support different creators that were on Around the Blockchain. I mean, that was a show that I watched, and how I got introduced. I watched it because I got to get introduced to several different creators that would come on, and then I would go investigate and watch their shows too. So we had Forrest from Sistine Research. He came on and did a investment type show. We had Wolf Financial, who we didn't know previous, but they host so many X Spaces on X weekly. Probably 10, 15 X Spaces that they host between Wolf Financial and Wolf. They used to be called Wolf Web 3, but it's the crypto side of it. And then we had Ernest Lee, who's a crypto tax advisor. We did a chapter just on crypto taxes. And then Army Piper. How can I forget Army Piper and Alex O? Alex O and Army Piper are just salt of the earth, really, really great people, and all their communities. We had Tradefly and FD White. I mean, we can go down the list of all the people, Lunar Beaches. I can pull up a chapter probably and read them to you, but yeah,
Oh,
it was wonderful.
bless. So with the book, although there were so many people who contributed, I think it was you who put the entire thing together, wasn't it?
I did. I think it was probably a month in. And fortunately, CryptoPoyo was key to getting those recordings, because we were trying to figure out how we're going to get the recordings. And especially sometimes with X Spaces, after a week and you start a new one, then you're not sure how to find the old one. And so CryptoPoyo was really key to getting those recordings and downloading that for us every week and giving that to us. And I think it was probably a month and a half in where I said, hey, we're going to really have to start transcribing these. Their 2 hour spaces are a lot. It's going to take a lot longer than you think to transcribe it. And that's just from my background. I know that audio transcription, if you're going to sit down and at a keyboard, start typing and transcribe, you need about 4 to 5 minutes for every minute of audio to be able to transcribe. So that's a lot. So you would almost take 10 hours to do a 2 hour space. And then I said, okay, and I had done this during my life and my career. I say, okay, I can dig in and I can do the hard work and I can put the 10 hours if I need to. But sometimes I stop and I think and say, there has to be a better way. And so I actually found some resources and some different AI tools that would help me transcribe it automatically. And then I could go in manually and kind of review and quality control that. So that really helped. And then once I got to that point, I realized the transcript with all the timestamps was 150 to 200 pages per chapter. A little bit daunting. And so I dug in and found some other tools to help me get all the timestamps out. And then we're looking at 50 to 60, maybe 70 pages. It's still a little bit too big for a 30 chapter book to have 50 pages plus per chapter. So I used some more AI tools to help me read through the entire transcript and give me the main points and the key highlights of what was talked about. And then I would refresh and say, okay, give me a quote from every speaker. And I'd pull out the quotes. And then I used that. And then I manually went through and kind of trimmed it down and tried to put it into something. And then, of course, the team read it and gave me, their input, because it's not just me. The team read it and gave me their input. We hired an editor. Actually, we had 2 different editors that we hired to help us to make sure that it would be a professional book. I mean, myself and Crypto Billy and several of the team are avid readers for personal and professional development. And I wanted it to read like a professional book. And I really took effort to try to make sure we gave a good product. So I don't say I authored it, of course, because we had 172 different people that input into the book, and their input was value. So I think I was more of I synthesized it or kind of compiled it together. But really, the whole team kind of signed off on it. Crypto Billy said he loved it. I did myself, but I was a little biased. And so that's why we also hired the editor to make sure we could do that and have a good product. Because we really the main thing, aside from wanting to put something out as a product, we wanted to honor the community, honor all of those that came in and spoke. So
No, it's
oh,
a wonderful product. Yep,
One
carry on.
last person. Mind Your Biz talked about privacy and security. Mind Your Biz, if nobody knows him yet, should check out Mind Your Biz. His name is Seth Estrada. He is absolutely phenomenal. Privacy and security. He's really funny and talks on other things as well. But we just did a refresh with him 2 weeks ago on our space to talk about privacy and security, and that was a key chapter in the book as well.
Awesome. And you can just see how much passion you have. I'll put all the links down below. So if anybody wants to get the book, they can.
Yeah,
Let's talk
thank you.
about last year. Let's talk about 2024. Now, 2024 was a good year for Bitcoin. We had the ETFs approved. We had Trump running on crypto. Um, I think crypto went from something like 38,000 US dollars to over 100,000 US dollars. It was a
Yeah.
good year for Bitcoin. It wasn't the best year for crypto as a whole. Like, both of us, we believe in the 4-year cycle. 2024 wasn't the year that we were going to make our multis.
Yeah.
2025 is. What was your experience of 2024?
2024, of course, there's excitement and euphoria, and Bitcoin hits 100,000, and Bitcoin has an ETF that's being traded, a spot ETF, and is it spot? Yes, spot ETF, right? And then Ethereum now has an ETF, and then now which one's next? And then you had the meme coin, cycle of Pump Fund and Solana and all those types of things that ran. And obviously, I know you say you're a DJ and you like that, and I do a little bit, but I sometimes, especially as I started focusing on the book for the last 6 months of the year, I really stopped myself from doing a lot of trading, because if you can't put the emphasis and the research that you need to, then you shouldn't be doing that. Even, Alex O talks about, if he does a sanity check for himself, like a personal check. If I'm not in the right frame of mind, if I'm not well rested, if I haven't eaten, then I'm not going to do as much trading right now, because I'm just not in that right mindset to give it my all. So for me, I didn't do much except, buy more Cardano, because I knew that our book was going to come out on Cardano. I also really, really like the governance factor and all the changes with governance and having a voting body and things that are still happening. But as you mentioned, 2025 is the year. So all I really did is continue to buy in. Of course, I tried not to buy in at the top, but I bought in mostly by the summer. And then from there, I didn't buy in much more. I just I really tried to push a lot more of my funds in during the summer. I knew there would be a run up. And then, of course, there might be a little bit of a pullback maybe. But like you said, 2025 should be it, right? Should be when the real 4-year cycle comes about later this year. And so really, I've just been holding. I mean, I've had a few DGen plays with some fun coins, and I've done well with that. But that's really probably a small percentage of my portfolio, probably 5-10%, that I still like to play around, because I do get that the little bit of a high and endorphins from being able to be active. But for the majority of my funds, I just said, okay, I'm going to buy early. And so I was very glad that I did that, put more of the funds in prior to the end of the summer, because even Cardano is already 3x'd from then. So
Awesome. So I know you used to be a part of a lot of communities in the past, but recently, YouTube communities in the past, but recently you've now come onto YouTube yourself with the new
mhm.
Givers Game YouTube channel, which has been running for a couple of months. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so I think we started testing the waters, I think in September. Crypto Bill is really, really good at keeping us on track from what the promises and the goals that we set up in our timeline. We have like a 5-year timeline, and we revisit that every year to see what else we might need to adjust. But we have hit all of our timeline goals, and getting on YouTube was one of them. And so I think we initially thought about maybe doing a show that at least maybe some pre-records or having more content. But I think at the moment we've stuck with Sundays after our team meeting, we would be live for about 2 hours. And myself, I'm only on for the first hour, just because of the commitment that I have to my family and the time commitment after having a meeting. But we started doing that, and I think our first few, probably month and a half, it's called bloopers. It's like Sunday bloopers is the, because a lot of us were trying to coordinate. The 5 of us or 6 of us now, because Dave Digital is very active with us, trying to coordinate the software, getting to know StreamYard and getting to know OBS and all the different pieces, and each one of us being able to understand how to do that, and having a flow, and not having a show where all of us are together, or having to do all the coordination from our own homes, and so we started doing that, but we have brought on uh, our focus, just like the X Spaces. We wanted to have the community up in our X Spaces and talking. So we actually throw out the StreamYard link into our YouTube comments section as we're live, and we invite up some of our community or other guests or people that want to come up and talk charts or come up and have a conversation with us. And we'll, if we kind of like the X Space, if we get bad actors, then we'll just deal with that like we, do with grace, and drop them down and have them on their way. But we really try to seek to have, we do a little bit of a news, and Dave Digital helps us to try to have like the current topic, something that is more relevant within the last 24, 48 hours before we go live. And we talk through some of that, but it's been good. We have project founders. We have a booking link that we have for those that might want to attend and come and be live with us now. But aside from just having other influencers, we really want to open the door for our community members if they want to jump up and try their hand at stuff. So Amy Lives Crypto is one of our community members early on, and she does wonderful, wonderful content. All of it is pre-record, maybe a couple videos a month. It's not a whole lot because she's a mother and she has commitments to her family, and she's a professional financial advisor. And so she's just got some great videos and things of talking about, and her production quality is extremely good. So from being part of our community, I think we helped her get her first 400 or 500 subscribers, and we continue to do that with people that are new, people that are putting out content. We try to support them. If they have the giver's gain mindset of giving and not just taking, we really seek to try to help empower people that just want to take a step into it.
Awesome. So obviously we've started the new year, 2025. In a couple of days, Trump will be taking office with a new pro-crypto administration. Exciting things to happen. What are your expectations for 2025?
Personally, I don't see. Well, look, I don't have a crystal ball, right? None of us do. But I really don't know that there's going to be a lot of change. I mean, I think there was some stated change. I think there was some things that were talked about on the campaign, and that's all well and good. Actually, at the Bitcoin conference, when he was talking about making, having Bitcoin into the reserve, some of the audience was not too pleased about that, because often Bitcoiners don't want to have government control over that resource. And so I think it's not a bad thing to say, hey, we want to hold Bitcoin as a government. Other governments are already doing that as a currency. I think it's a positive thing. I don't know if that's going to be the biggest priority. I think just the fact that he's a pro crypto president, and maybe even, I mean, the president has a lot of influence, obviously, globally, but and the things that he says have influence globally. But also the rest of the Congress that was elected, that is also Republican, will probably have a little bit of influence too. So I hope that there might be some legislation that is developed, or at least discussed, and maybe not jumped into too quickly. I hope that there's some meaningful conversations that happen to bring crypto adoption a little bit more widespread, and allow for some of the bad actors that happen in the space to be weeded out. But I don't know if there's going to be a lot of big change, but I think just the sentiment of being pro crypto, pro business, pro finance will probably help and affect the outcome this next year.
So you're a firm believer of the 4-year cycle, just like I am. So do you think we will probably have a Bitcoin all-time high in Q4 of this year?
With the onset of the ETFs, and with the inflow of traditional investors, I'm not sure if the 4-year cycle this year will be the same. I try to lean into that. There's a 4-year cycle and there's the impact, and I think that to some degree we're going to have a similar cycle. Now, we had I think the top a lot earlier in the cycle than we're normally used to having it. And so I'm not really making predictions on that yet. I still think that we could have um, still numbers that are similar to what we had at the end of 2024 and come and run up to them. But I don't know that we'll have the exact same thing. Now, I think the altcoin season has started to take off, but I think the altcoin season might rip in a little bit stronger as we get into the spring and maybe the summer. At least I'm hopeful that it would. But yeah, so I I always try to, instead of sticking my flag in the sand and saying this is always how it is. I try to be open to change, and maybe what's helping my mindset right now is I just started reading a book called "Who Moved My Cheese," and it's all about how you manage change. It's a really small book, but another one that Crypto Billy put me onto, and so as I've been reading it this last week, I'm just been trying to second guess or trying to not get stuck in the same pattern. I still think there are patterns to follow, and unless there's really a sign that it's going to change, but I'm always kind of open to and looking for signs of something different than what I am expecting. So,
Okay, awesome. So just quickly, what advice would you give somebody new who's looking to come into and buy cryptocurrency nowadays?
I would advise them, especially that we're kind of in the middle of and towards the maybe the middle end of the bull run as we come into 2025. I would just advise them to do a lot of research and try to latch on to communities that are there to support. I would definitely say, just like in any other financial transaction, if someone says they're going to give you two for the one that they give you, or excuse me, someone's going to give you two for the one you give them, never trust that. And people still do to this day. If there's a coin that's going to launch and you jump into a Discord or a Telegram or any other thing, or it's on X and it comes out and there's this rush to do it, then be wary that there's going to be fakes that are out there. A lot of people think, oh, I want to go buy Ethereum, I'm just going to go buy it. But they don't realize coming in that there's a lot of coins out there that are trying to pose as something else. Just like there's a lot of people's accounts where people pose as imposters and try to, I think it was the same year, 2020, Gary Vee launched his V Friends. Later that year, there was something going around on X about another collection by Gary Vee, and it wasn't really him. He wasn't doing another one. And I jumped in and I lost a little bit of crypto that way. So, and that's just because I wanted to jump in onto a project that he had. And so I think people just need to make sure that they double check and they find some other friends or resources, or go to multiple sources to see if they're getting that same information. And then if they hear about something in crypto that they want to put money in, whether it's a well-known project or something that's new, make sure you go to the actual site, or make sure you go to the Coin Market Cap or CoinGecko or something, and verify that you're actually buying into the right policy ID for that cryptocurrency. Because even especially all the new ones that come out, there's multiples that come up with the same name. So making sure that it's verified. Dex tools, Dex Screener, I use that often. I'll take a policy ID from a coin from one of the major websites. I put it into Dex Screener and I look, and there's some red flags that will show up, that, hey, this is a honeypot, or this is, there's a lot of tools out there. So get to know those tools, because crypto still is kind of the wild, wild west. You can still lose your hat. And so I just tell them to ease into it. If they're worried about it, they're not maybe so adept at it, then maybe consider getting an ETF, or jumping in on the ETF, or jumping in on some of the major stocks that trade it, like that are out there. So, but make sure that they research and do the research and understand the functions of their crypto wallets or the exchanges and how those work before they start doing things. Not understanding that they might be signing things away. So I don't know
Awesome.
about you. I don't know if you ever had the experience, but I've had at least two wallets that I've had to burn because they're just I made a transaction, and I've even put a little bit of funds back in to see if it, and within a day those funds are gone. And so I had to learn that those wallets are burned, and I'm never going to touch them again. And whatever was there is there. So
Touch wood, I haven't had that experience, but
that's
you
I'm
never know.
glad.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it is really, really. There are still a lot of scams in
Yeah.
crypto, even though a lot of legitimacy has been added with Trump and the ETFs. Thank you so much, Tony, for coming on and sharing your crypto story with us. I really enjoyed learning about it.
Well, thank you, Crypto Princess. I really do appreciate you taking the time and having me on here. We really enjoyed having you live a couple Sundays ago on the Billy Goat Tales YouTube stream, and I really do value the content that you put out. Your shorts are really really well done. The knowledge that you provide, even just I don't know that I understood token versus coin until I watched your short, because it was just so well
Oh,
done. And so not just that one. There's quite a few that you've done a really good job of. You can tell that you're very intentional to try to give people great information. So I would tell people to watch your shorts and learn about cryptocurrency and really learn about the back end of it and what it means and get an understanding of that. So
it's one of those things. I got into crypto for the money, but I love the tech so much.
yeah,
I am so passionate about it.
and the community.
And the community, yeah, the
Not
community.
just one, but multiple, right? And they're very supportive. And I found that the camaraderie I had in the military, Army Piper said it well the other day, or this last Tuesday on our community X Space. He said, when I was in the military, at every duty station I would go to, I'd have 10 to 15 guys that I would probably, I would lay my life on the line for them. But when you go to the next duty station, I might not even talk to them ever again. And it was kind of like that. And when I got out, I kind of felt like, especially because I left where my last duty station and moved to a whole new place. I kind of felt like I was starting over. But the crypto community has become um, the community where I can trust and develop friendships and connections and really have each other's back, not just for the crypto stuff, but in life as well. So
Awesome, and I love your community. They were so kind to me when I came on. It was actually my first live stream, and
mm,
I was really, really nervous, but they were amazing.
well, you do a great job. I'm so thankful that Army Piper introduced us to you. I'm sure that Alex O introduced him
Yeah,
to you as I went through and watched your different series from different influencers. So we're very fortunate to have met you, and hope that we continue to introduce you to others that you could interview, because you do such a thorough job and a great job of just honestly getting having the curiosity to get to know people and get to do that. And we're just very thankful for what you do.
awesome. Thank you.